colony ship, we've located the House of Devils Lair and the High Servitor, feeding them their strength. We must destroy this machine god and send their souls screaming back to hell.
Okay, we're getting started on a 3-man dungeon run. On here, it's pretty much like a 5-man instance group from World of Warcraft, if you've ever done that. Well, except that this is matchmaking, and it puts 3 guardians together. And from there, you guys start out, and you have a set of objectives, and you go and do them. Eventually, you start running into different types of groups. You start seeing enemies that are more challenging, less challenging, trash mobs, etc., etc. However, you'll eventually get to the main objective point. Now that point is actually going to be a boss fight, or it could be an objective that you have to hold for a certain amount of time, or eventually down the line it could be a big boss at the end. So on this one, I have to catch up to the team because apparently their third person dropped out, and so now the queue put me in there for them. So now I have to run up to him. It's not too much of a long run, so that's not a bad thing. So anyway, we start getting working on these enemies. There's a guy up there. I don't know, was he climbing or something? That looked hilarious. We're fighting them, and apparently they already started the hack. Now the hack is done by this little ghost that always follows you around. Now while he's in the middle of doing that, you get waves of these creatures or these enemies that keep coming out and attacking you, and some of them are stronger, some of them are whizzes and elite creatures and rushers, you know, where they have either cloaked rushers that are melee, or they'll have plain melee. And like here, that character that was just killed, he was actually one of the more difficult enemies. And at first, he's not too much of a difficulty. He's very easy. You just burn him down, he has a little bit more health than everyone. But as the waves continue to progress, I noticed that they started doing more evasive maneuvers. For instance, I heard that enemies were getting smarter. Something to that effect was announced. Now, as the enemies got smarter, they started to evade more. Like there, he would have teleported straight out into somewhere else. We would start to shoot on him, or at him, and he would just back away and hide behind something. So that was pretty interesting. We had to chase around for him after a little while, and yeah, it became challenging because he would regenerate his shields, and if he regenerates the shields, you know, wash, rinse, repeat. So there we also get stealthed enemies who try to stay in the background and snipe, and they disrupt you because you take one big hit and your shields are low, and now you've got all these mobs in front of you. You have to hide in the background. This is by no stretch of the imagination difficult, like super hardcore content or anything, but for starter stuff, it shows you that there can be a difficulty, and that you also have to watch out for each other, because if you don't, well, you'll go on a down state, and only your teammate can revive you. Now, if nobody dies after a certain amount of time, you can respawn. However, if another person dies because now they're getting more attacks on them because there's less players on the field, well, the chances of them dying is higher. So if everyone dies, immediately the game's over for that area, or at least up until that checkpoint that you reached. So since this is the beginning, we would have to just start this area, the hack, all over again. We wouldn't have to clear to it or anything. We wouldn't have to do a corpse run, nothing like that. You just start immediately fighting the waves from the beginning, though. And here we're trying now to fight this hive whiz. He spawns a bunch of minions that will try and rush you, so it's best to just burst them down. He doesn't have much health. He's easy to kill, so it's not a problem at all. And from there, I got sniped, and that's why you have to pay attention to them. They're just not back there tickling you. They can actually take you out in a hit. So they killed me. These other guys forgot to revive others because, you know, when you're new, you're not expecting anything. You know, you forget about the whole revive mechanic and all that. And it really doesn't give you too much indication on your screen when somebody starts to go on a down phase. If you've ever played Borderlands 2 and so you see somebody go down on a down state, oh, you could tell pretty quick. You can hear sound, he yells out, a big icon shows up on your screen, whether it's on the corners because they're behind you or to the side. Still, you could see it, and you know where to get to your enemy or your teammate. Now, this, on the other hand, yeah, you can once you're looking for it. But you have to be attentive to it, because if you're not, you're going to miss it. And the person's just going to be sitting there for about 20 or 30 seconds until they're able to respawn. Now, once they respawn, it's relatively close. They could just jump back into the battle. But there are chances that the 2 people remaining, or the 1 person remaining, can get bursted down, because now they have more enemies paying attention and focusing on them. And because of that, you may get killed, and if you do, well, like I said before, it starts you over. So you make sure to pay attention to that when this game comes out, because it's important. If you don't, you know, you're going to make it a lot harder for yourself and for your group. So these are some of the charges that I was talking about. These are the robotic ones. They're pretty easy to take down, but they do have a rapid fire that can get annoying, and they really like to get in your face, and they're faster than the other ones too. There's some others that kind of shamble their way towards you, but at a quick pace. And then there's one that's all stealth. So this part of the game is, you know, pretty good. It's a little annoying when you die and you have to do the whole entire wave. You know, that's just the nature of the game, of any game where you're doing waves and you have to start that wave all over again. And if you remember Mount Heigel, oof, that was terrible. Anyway, I'm going to skip ahead to when this challenge or this event becomes a little bit more challenging, to showcase this particular enemy that just kept teleporting away, and he was definitely using AI more effectively. Okay, and here's the MVP that I was talking about. That fallen champion right there. He becomes extremely evasive. He'll dodge any number of things that's thrown at him. And at first, you know, you're thinking he's just going to be like every other champion that's come. Well, if you take a look, his health was low. He disappeared. So it's like, okay, where's this dude at? Alright, so you forget about him. He's probably almost dead. Let's help a teammate out over here instead. Well, there he is again. Now you think, okay, let's finish him off. Oh, what? His health's full. His shields are full. Wow, okay, let's burst him down. So here he is, strafing constantly. And then I'm like, alright, I'm done with you. Here's a grenade. He teleports right out of it. And then, right after that, he starts getting focused by other people. He runs back there, and then he teleports again to get away from us. And it's like, okay, the other fallen champions weren't as smart as this guy. They weren't responding as well. But it did indicate that he was going to be a smarter enemy. So there he is. He's consistently evading. Now they're trying to flank around. I flank around and we're able to finish him off because he doesn't have anywhere to go. Oh, he teleported again. And he almost got away, but we were able to catch him because we focused our fire down before he had a chance to do so. So the AI did feel like it was getting smarter. Now, if that's just a one-off situation, I don't know, but definitely that's something that the game keeps saying is supposed to be happening. And they definitely feel that way, because as the match kept going on further and further, it felt like we were getting hemmed in that much more. So it was a pleasant surprise. I like that. And these are some of the charges that I was talking about that are stealth based. They'll just come right at you, charge. It's easy to see them, and I personally find them pretty easy to deal with. But if you get 3 or 4 of them on you at once, and they, you know, are fortunate enough, unfortunate for you, enough to get off that melee, well, you could be bursted down almost instantly. So that's something interesting to take note of. As you can see, my health almost dropped down to death status right there. This guy was charging at me. Had to take care of him. Now this guy's trying to back away. Now this is the Baron. He's the tougher guy of them all. He's definitely more challenged to deal with. So, but he's easy. Personally, that last guy that we fought, that fallen champion, that's why he's the MVP. So we just take a quick look around to see if we see any more enemies, finish them off. And then afterwards, we're going to be working our way to the next boss fight. Now, I'm going to cut it here, and in the next video, we'll watch that fight. I'll see you then.
Ahead, under that colony ship, just on the other side of...